Captain Daeho Kim stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, watching the massive space station grow larger on the main screen. Nexus Prime was huge, bigger than any human city. It spun slowly in the darkness of space, its lights twinkling like stars. This was where the galaxy's most powerful races met to talk about peace and war. "Captain, we're getting a signal from the station," said Communications Officer Jun Sik Park. "They want to know if we need help docking." Daeho almost smiled. The aliens thought humans were too simple to dock their own ship. "Tell them we can handle it ourselves," he said. Behind him, Ambassador Hyojin Park was reading reports on her tablet. She had been a soldier before becoming a diplomat. Her sharp eyes missed nothing. "The Viridians think we're children playing with toys," she said quietly. "The Colics see us as weak individuals who can't work together. The Lumians barely think we're alive at all." "Let them think that," Daeho replied. He touched a hidden button on his chair. Deep in the ship, systems came online that the aliens could not detect. Sometimes it's better when your enemies don't know what you can do. The Soul's Pride looked like a simple diplomatic ship from the outside. It was clean and white, with Earth's blue flag painted on its side. The aliens had scanned it when it arrived. They saw basic life support, simple engines, and what looked like science equipment. They did not see the hidden weapons, the military-grade shields, or the communication systems that could reach across the galaxy in seconds. As they docked with the station, Hyojin stood up and smoothed her formal robes. "Remember," she told her team, "we are here to listen and learn. Let them talk first. Let them show us who they really are." Dr. Jin Woo Choi, the team's expert on alien cultures, nodded. He had studied every race in the galaxy. "The Viridians value strength above all else," he said. "The Colics think in groups, not as individuals. The Lumians believe that beings made of matter are less than those made of energy." "And what do they think of us?" asked Commander Yunseo Yoon, the ship's security chief. "They think we're lucky animals who accidentally learned to travel between stars," Jinwoo replied. The airlock opened with a soft hiss. The artificial gravity of the station pulled at them as they stepped inside. The corridors were wide and tall, built for races much larger than humans. Strange symbols glowed on the walls and the air smelled of metal and ozone. A figure approached them. It was tall and thin, made of what looked like living crystal. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Welcome, small ones. I am Counselor Zeftar of the Viridian Empire. We are curious about your kind," Hyojin bowed politely. "Thank you for inviting us, Counselor. We hope these talks will bring peace between our peoples." Zephatar's crystal body flashed with colors that Jinwoo recognized as amusement. "Peace, yes. We will discuss what place your species might have in the galaxy." They were led through the station to a massive chamber. The ceiling was so high it disappeared in shadows. Around a circular table sat the representatives of the galaxy's major powers. The Viridians looked like walking diamonds. The Colics moved as one group, their insect-like bodies clicking softly. The Lumians appeared as glowing clouds of energy contained in metal suits. "Take your seats," rumbled a voice like grinding stone. It came from Overlord Raktheus, the largest Viridian. "We have much to discuss." Hyojin and her team sat in chairs that were too big for them. Around the table, alien eyes studied them like scientists looking at bugs. The humans looked small and weak compared to the crystal giants, the swarming insects, and the energy beings. "Let us begin," said Hive Speaker Crix, the voice of the Colic swarm. "Each race will present their claims and capabilities. Viridians, you may start." Zeftar stood, and the air filled with holographic images. Star systems appeared around them, showing worlds made of crystal and metal. "The Viridian Empire controls 400 star systems," he said. "Our fleets number in the thousands. Our crystal technology can reshape matter itself." The display showed massive ships that looked like flying mountains, weapons that could crack planets, factories that turned asteroids into crystal cities. The other aliens nodded with respect and fear. Next came the Colics. Crix gestured, and the holograms changed to show worlds covered in hive cities. The Colic Collective spans 600 systems. "We are many minds acting as one. Our swarm fleets move like living things. We are perfect unity." The images showed millions of insect-like ships moving in perfect formation, planets where billions of Colics worked together without a single wasted motion, cities that grew like living organisms. The Lumians went last. Prime Architect Velthara's energy form pulsed as it spoke. "We are beyond matter. We are pure thought and energy. 300 systems serve as our research laboratories. We study the universe itself. Their display showed worlds where mountains floated in the air, where energy beings danced between the stars, where the laws of physics seemed to bend and twist. Finally, all eyes turned to the humans. Heejin stood slowly. The hologram she activated was small and simple. It showed Earth, blue and green and beautiful. It showed Mars with its new cities. It showed a dozen colonies on nearby worlds. Humanity claims our home system and 12 nearby colonies, she said simply. We have been in space for 30 years. We are still learning. Silence filled the chamber. Then Zeftar began to laugh, a sound like breaking glass. 12 worlds? 30 years? This is your great empire. The Colics clicked among themselves, communicating faster than humans could follow. The Lumians' energy forms flickered with what might have been amusement. How many ships do you have? Asked Raktheus. Enough for our needs, Yejin replied. And your military strength? We prefer peace to war. More laughter echoed through the chamber. The aliens looked at each other with knowing glances. These humans were even weaker than they had thought. Well, said Zeftar, we shall have to discuss what protection we can offer such a modest civilization. Perhaps the Viridian Empire could take responsibility for your safety. The collective could integrate your people for efficiency, added Crix. Or we could simply ignore you, said Velthara. Matter-based life forms rarely interest us. Heejin smiled politely, but her eyes were cold. Under the table, her hand pressed a small device. Light years away, Admiral Subin Lee received a signal. The message was simple. They're planning something. Be ready. We appreciate your generous offers, Heejin said. Perhaps we should take some time to consider them. As the first day of talks ended, the aliens felt confident. Humanity was weak, isolated, and helpless. They would be easy to divide up among the three powers. The galaxy would remain under the control of the strong as it always had. But in the human quarters that night, Yun Seo checked her weapons and Jin Woo analyzed alien military data. Daeho opened a secure channel to ships that officially did not exist. And Hyejin began planning for the day when the masks would come off and the real negotiations would begin. The aliens thought they were hunting sheep. They had no idea they had invited wolves to dinner. The second day of talks began with more alien presentations. Dr. Jinwoo Choi sat beside Ambassador Hyejin Park, taking notes on everything he saw and heard. As a xenobiologist, he understood how different species thought. What he was seeing now worried him. The Viridians see strength as the only virtue, he whispered to Heejin. They think weak species should serve strong ones. The Colics believe individual thoughts are selfish and wrong. They want everyone to think the same way. And the Lumians? Heijin asked quietly. They think matter-based life is primitive. To them, we're like talking rocks. On the great screen, Overlord Raktheus was showing more Viridian military power. Massive crystal ships fired beams that could melt entire mountains. Planets surrendered without fighting when the Viridian fleets arrived. You see, Raktheus said, his voice echoing in the chamber. The strong must protect the weak. It is the natural order. Those who cannot defend themselves must accept guidance from those who can. Commander Eun Seo-yoon, sitting behind the main diplomatic table, watched the alien security forces. She counted weapons, noted positions, studied their formations. The Viridians carried crystal weapons that could cut through metal. The Colics moved in perfect coordination, each one knowing what the others would do. The Lumian guards were pure energy in metal suits, harder to fight than anything made of flesh and bone. But Yun Seo had fought energy beings before, during humanity's early exploration missions. She knew their weaknesses. Hive Speaker Crick stood next. The Colics' insect-like body clicked as it moved. Individual thinking causes chaos, it said. When minds work alone, they make mistakes. When they work together as one, they achieve perfection. The hologram showed Colic worlds where millions of beings moved like parts of a machine. No one argued. No one disagreed. No one made choices alone. Children were taken from their parents and raised by the collective. Artists created only what the hive mind approved. Scientists researched only what served the group. This is efficiency, Crix continued. This is peace. No wars between individuals. No selfish desires. Only the good of all. Jinwoo felt sick watching it. They want to turn everyone into robots, he muttered. When the Lumians presented, Prime Architect Velthara's energy form pulsed with colors that hurt to look at. Matter is limitation, it said. Flesh and bone and crystal are cages for the mind. We have transcended such things. We are pure thought, pure energy, pure potential. The display showed Lumion experiments on other species. They tried to convert matter-based beings into energy, usually killing them in the process. They treated entire civilizations like laboratory subjects, studying how primitive minds worked. One day, Velthera continued, all intelligent life will evolve beyond matter. Until then, we study, we learn, we prepare for that glorious future. Finally, it was humanity's turn to speak about their culture and beliefs. Hijin stood slowly, looking around the chamber at faces that ranged from amused to bored to dismissive. Humans believe in individual choice, she began. Every person has the right to decide their own path in life. We work together, but we don't lose ourselves in the group. Zeftar's crystal body flashed with colors that Jinwoo recognized as confusion. But how do you maintain order? How do you prevent chaos? We talk. We debate, we vote. Sometimes we disagree, but that makes us stronger, not weaker. The colleagues clicked among themselves rapidly. Crick spoke for them. Disagreement is inefficient. It wastes time and energy. It causes conflict. Conflict can lead to growth, Hijin replied. When ideas compete, the best ones survive. And what of the weak? Raktheus demanded. Who protects those who cannot protect themselves? Everyone has the duty to protect others, not because they are weak, but because they are people with value. Velthara's energy form flickered. Value, what value does matter have? Flesh dies, thoughts stored in meat disappear. Only energy is eternal. Our thoughts and dreams matter because we are alive to think them, Hijin said. Death gives life meaning. Knowing our time is limited makes every moment precious. The aliens looked at each other with expressions that clearly said they thought humans were insane. Individual choice? The rights of the weak? The value of temporary life? These ideas made no sense to them. During the break, Warcast Thekmal approached Commander Yoon. The Kolek military advisor was larger than the others, with scars on its shell that spoke of many battles. Your security seems inadequate, it said, studying Yunseo with compound eyes. One guard for your entire delegation. I'm enough, Yunseo replied calmly. Thekmal's mandibles clicked in what might have been laughter. Against Viridian crystal weapons? Against Kolek swarm tactics? Against Lumion energy forms? You are brave but foolish. Maybe, Yunseo said. We'll see. In the human quarters that night, the team gathered around a secure communication unit. Captain Daeho's face appeared on the screen. Along with several others the aliens would not have recognized. Report, said Admiral Subin Lee from her flagship somewhere in deep space. They're not here to negotiate, Hyojin said bluntly. They've already decided what to do with humanity. They're just going through the motions. The Viridians want to make us a protectorate, Jinwoo added. They'll protect us by controlling everything we do. The Koleks want to integrate us into their hive mind, Yunseo continued. Erase our individuality completely, and the Lumians barely acknowledge we exist, Hyejin finished. They see us as lab rats at best. Admiral Lee's expression didn't change, but her eyes grew hard. Any sign they know about our real capabilities? None, Daeho reported from the Soul's Pride. They scanned the ship thoroughly. They see exactly what we want them to see. Good. How much longer before they reveal their true intentions? Soon, Hyejin said. They're getting impatient. They think we're wasting time with our primitive ideas about rights and freedom. Then we wait, Lee said. Let them show their true nature. The galaxy needs to see what these three powers really are. Meanwhile, in another part of the station, the alien leaders were meeting in secret. The chamber was shielded from all human sensors, or so they thought. They didn't know about the listening devices that Chief Engineer Wanho Bei had planted using technology they couldn't detect. The humans are even more pathetic than we thought, Raktheus said. Individual choice? Rights for the weak? They'll destroy themselves within a generation. All the better for us, Crix replied. We can absorb their colonies before they collapse. Their genetic diversity will strengthen the collective. If there's anything left worth studying, Velthera added, their energy patterns are crude, but they might provide useful data on how matter-based consciousness functions. Then we're agreed, Raktheus concluded. Tomorrow we present them with the choice. Accept partition among our three powers or face extinction. They'll accept, Crix said confidently. They have no choice, and if they refuse? Velthara asked. Then we demonstrate why the strong rule the galaxy, Raktheus replied. A few destroyed human colonies will convince the rest to surrender. Back in the human quarters, Wanho finished reviewing the intercepted conversation. He looked at his teammates with grim satisfaction. Well, he said, now we know for certain. They never intended to negotiate in good faith. How long until our fleets are in position? Yunseo asked. 12 hours, Daeho replied. Admiral Taekyung Lim is moving the main force into the outer system. Captain Sora Jung has her stealth destroyers ready. General Myung-Soo Kang is coordinating with the defense fleets around our colonies. Hee-Jin nodded. Then tomorrow when they spring their trap, we'll be ready to spring ours. Jinwoo looked worried. Are we really going to fight the 3 most powerful militaries in the galaxy? No, Hee-Jin said with a cold smile. We're going to defeat them. Outside, the great space station continued its slow rotation, its lights twinkling like stars. The aliens slept peacefully, confident in their power and their plans. They had no idea that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 30 years. The next day would bring the end of their galactic dominance. They just didn't know it yet. Intelligence Officer Na Young-han worked through the night, her fingers dancing across holographic displays that only human eyes could see. The alien sensors couldn't detect the advanced computers hidden in the human quarters. For hours, she had been breaking alien encryption codes and intercepting their communications. What she found made her blood run cold. Ambassador, she called softly, you need to see this. Hee-Jin Park came over, still wearing her formal robes from the evening's diplomatic dinner. The aliens had been generous with food and drink, trying to make the humans feel comfortable before they revealed their true intentions. Show me, Hee-Jin said, the display filled with tactical maps of human space. Viridian, Colic, and Lumian fleets were moving into position around every human colony. Not to attack yet, but to surround, to trap. How long have they been planning this? Hee-Jin asked. Months, Na Young replied, her voice tight with anger. Maybe longer. They've been coordinating this operation since before they sent the invitation for peace talks. More data scrolled past. Fleet movements, supply lines, coordination protocols. The 3 powers had put aside their own disputes to focus on a common goal, dividing human space among themselves. They've already decided who gets what, Na Young continued. The Viridians want our industrial worlds. The Colics want our agricultural colonies for their breeding programs. The Lumians want our research stations for their experiments. Dr. Jinwoo Choi appeared in the doorway, unable to sleep. What's wrong? Everything, Hee-Jin said grimly. This whole peace conference is a joke. They never intended to negotiate. They're just keeping us busy while their fleets get into position. Jinwoo sat down heavily. I should have seen it. The way they talked about us, the questions they asked. They weren't trying to understand us. They were gathering intelligence. On the screen, more intercepts appeared. Communications between alien fleet commanders, supply schedules, target priorities. The picture became clearer and more frightening with each message. They plan to present us with an ultimatum tomorrow, Na Young reported. Accept partition peacefully or watch human colonies burn. How many ships do they have in position? Hee-Jin asked. Na Young's fingers moved across the display, calculating. 3,000 Viridian crystal ships, 5,000 Colic swarm vessels, 2,000 Lumian energy destroyers. They outnumber our public fleet by 50 to 1. Our public fleet, Jinwoo repeated with emphasis. Yes, Hee-Jin said with a cold smile. The fleet they know about. In his quarters, Chief Engineer Wanho Bei was having his own sleepless night. But he wasn't worried about alien fleets. He was making final preparations to the Soul's Pride, running diagnostics on systems that officially didn't exist. The ship looked like a simple diplomatic vessel from the outside. Inside, however, it was a different story. Hidden weapon ports were concealed behind retractable hull plates. Military-grade shields were disguised as navigation deflectors. The engines could produce twice their rated power when pushed. Most importantly, the communication array could reach across the galaxy instantly using quantum entanglement technology that the aliens didn't know humans possessed. All systems green, he reported to Captain Daeho Kim on the bridge. We're ready for anything. Good, Daeho replied, because I have a feeling tomorrow is going to be interesting. In another part of the station, Commander Yunseo Yoon was conducting her own investigation. She moved through the corridors like a ghost, using skills learned in Special Forces training. The alien security guards never saw her coming or going. She planted listening devices in strategic locations. She mapped the station's weak points. She counted weapons and noted guard rotations. Most importantly, she confirmed what Na Young's intelligence had suggested. The aliens were preparing for a confrontation. Weapon lockers were being stocked. Security forces were being reinforced. The station's shields and weapons were being charged to full power. They weren't taking any chances, even though they thought humanity was helpless. Overconfident, Inseo muttered to herself, but not stupid. As dawn approached in the station's artificial day cycle, the human delegation gathered for their morning briefing. The evidence was overwhelming. The aliens had laid a trap and tomorrow they would spring it. What do we do? Jinwoo asked. We spring our own trap first, Heejin replied. Na Young, send the final activation codes to Admiral Lee. It's time to wake up the fleet. 30 light-years away, Admiral Subin Lee received the coded message aboard her flagship, the dreadnought Incheon's Hammer. Around her, the bridge crew worked with quiet efficiency. They had been waiting for this moment for 3 decades. All stations, this is Admiral Lee, she announced over the fleet communication system. Operation Galactic Dawn is now active. All ships begin Phase 1 positioning. Across human space, ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and gas clouds began to move. Stealth destroyers decloaked near alien fleets. Battle cruisers emerged from behind moons and planets. Carrier groups launched fighter squadrons that had been waiting in the dark. The aliens had 10,000 ships surrounding human space. But humanity had prepared for this day since they first learned they weren't alone in the galaxy. Their actual fleet numbered 15,000 vessels, and everyone was built for war. Captain Sora Young commanded the stealth destroyer Busan's Vengeance. For weeks, her ship had been shadowing a Colic swarm fleet, studying their formations and tactics. The insect-like aliens flew in perfect coordination, but that coordination made them predictable. Target the command ship, she ordered her weapons officer. When the signal comes, take out their hive coordinator first. Without central control, the swarm will be confused. Similar scenes played out across dozens of star systems. Human ships that the aliens didn't know existed moved into attack positions. The trap was being turned inside out. On Nexus Prime, the morning session began with forced smiles and diplomatic pleasantries. The alien delegates looked confident and relaxed. They thought they held all the cards. Overlord Raktheus stood to address the assembly. His crystal body caught the light and threw rainbows across the chamber walls. Friends, he began, his voice like grinding stone. We have spent 2 days discussing our different cultures and capabilities. Now it is time to speak of practical matters. A holographic display activated, showing a map of human space. Red lines divided it into 3 sections. The galaxy is vast but dangerous, Raktheus continued. New species often struggle to survive without guidance. The Viridian Empire, in cooperation with our Colic and Lumian allies, proposes a protection arrangement. Hyejin kept her expression neutral, but her hand moved to the communication device in her pocket. The Viridian Empire will take responsibility for your industrial worlds, Raktheus explained. We will ensure their protection and help improve their efficiency. Hive Speaker Crick stood next. The Collect Collective will oversee your agricultural colonies. We will integrate their populations for maximum productivity and harmony. Prime Architect Velthera's energy form pulsed as it spoke. The Lumian Commonwealth will study your research installations. We will help your scientists transcend the limitations of matter-based thinking. And in return, Hyejin asked calmly. In return, humanity will enjoy peace and protection, Raktheus replied. No more worries about hostile aliens or resource shortages. You will be safe under our guidance, and if we refuse, the chamber fell silent. The aliens exchanged glances and their masks of friendship slipped away. Refusal would be unwise, Raktheus said slowly. Young species sometimes make poor choices when left to their own devices. It would be tragic if human colonies suffered because of such poor judgment. Warcast Thekmol stepped forward, his scarred shell gleaming under the lights. Our fleets are already in position around your worlds, he said bluntly. For protection, of course. Of course, Hyejin replied. She looked around the chamber at the faces watching her. Some showed pity for the human situation. Others showed anticipation for what would come next. A few showed hunger at the thought of new territories to exploit. You're asking us to give up our freedom, she said. Freedom is an illusion for the weak, Raktheus replied. The strong must guide the weak. It is the natural order. And who decided this natural order? The strong did, Belthara said, its energy form flickering with amusement. Hyejin stood slowly, her hand still resting on the communication device. Around the chamber, alien guards moved closer, sensing that something was about to change. I see, she said. So might makes right. The powerful can take whatever they want from those who can't stop them. Finally, you understand? Crick said with satisfaction. Oh, I understand perfectly, Hyejin replied, and pressed the button. 30 light-years away, Admiral Lee received the signal. 3 words, the mask is off. All ships, she commanded. This is Admiral Lee. Execute Operation Galactic Dawn. Show them what humanity is really capable of. Across human space, the hidden fleet revealed itself. Stealth fields dropped, weapon ports opened. The galaxy's 3 most powerful militaries suddenly found themselves face to face with an enemy they had never imagined. The real war was about to begin. The chamber fell silent as Ambassador Hyejin Park's words echoed in the air. For a moment, the alien delegates seemed confused. Then Overlord Raktheus began to laugh, a sound like crystal mountains cracking. Humanity refuses? He said, his voice filled with amusement. You would choose war over the generous protection we offer? With what? Hive Speaker Crix added, its mandibles clicking rapidly. You have shown us your pathetic fleet. 12 colonies, a few exploration ships. How do you plan to resist the combined might of 3 galactic powers? Prime Architect Velthara's energy form pulsed with colors that hurt to look at. This is fascinating. The matter-based beings seem to prefer extinction over evolution. We must study this phenomenon. Hyejin looked around the chamber at the hundreds of alien faces staring at her. Some showed pity. Others showed excitement at the thought of crushing human resistance. All of them looked confident that humanity had just chosen suicide. You're right, she said calmly. We can't fight 3 galactic powers. The aliens nodded, thinking she was finally accepting reality. But we're not fighting 3 galactic powers, Hyejin continued. We're fighting 3 bullies who prey on the weak. And bullies always make the same mistake. What mistake? Raktheus demanded. They assume their victims are helpless. She pressed another button on her communication device. This time, the signal went to Captain Dae-Ho Kim aboard the Soul's Pride. The diplomatic ship's hull began to change. Panels slid aside, revealing weapon ports that hadn't been there moments before. Hidden shield generators hummed to life. The ship's engine signature suddenly doubled, then tripled in power. But that was just the beginning. On the main display in the chamber, space around Nexus Prime began to shimmer. One by one, human warships decloaked. Not small exploration vessels or colony ships, but massive destroyers and battle cruisers bristling with weapons. The Busan's Vengeance appeared first, its stealth field dissolving to reveal a sleek predator that had been hunting in the dark. Then came the Daigu's Edge, its hull scarred from secret battles fought in distant systems. More ships followed, Incheon's Thunder, Gwangju's Fury, Ulsan's Strike. Within minutes, 50 human warships surrounded the space station. Their weapon systems locked onto the alien vessels that had been escorting the diplomatic convoys. But even that wasn't the real shock. A new voice came over the communication system, clear and strong. This is Admiral Taekyung Lim of the Human Defense Fleet. All alien vessels, you are surrounded. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. On the main screen, a figure appeared that made the alien delegates gasp in shock. Admiral Lim stood on the bridge of a ship so massive it blotted out the stars behind it. The dreadnought Incheon's hammer was 3 kilometers long and armed with weapons that could crack moons. Impossible, Raktheus whispered. Our sensors showed only 1 human ship. Your sensors showed what we wanted them to show, Hyejin replied. Did you really think a species could develop faster than light travel, without also developing military technology? More ships appeared on the display. Not just around Nexus Prime, but throughout the galaxy. Human vessels decloaked near alien fleets that thought they were conducting a surprise attack. The hunters had become the hunted. General Myung-Soo Kang's voice joined the communication channel. All human colonies report ready for defense. Alien fleets are surrounded and outnumbered. Fleet Commander Min-Ho Shin added his report. Assault groups are in position. We have clear shots on all priority targets. Admiral Subin Lee's image appeared beside Admiral Lim's on the main screen. Behind her, the bridge of her flagship buzzed with activity. Alien commanders, this is your only warning. Withdraw your fleets from human space immediately, or face the consequences. The alien delegates looked around the chamber in growing panic. This wasn't how it was supposed to happen. They were the powerful ones. They had the advanced technology and the massive fleets. How could primitive humans have ships they'd never seen before? Warcast Thekmal was the first to recover from the shock. Tricks and deception, he snarled. Where were these ships built? Where did you get the resources? Dr. Jin Wu Choi stood up beside He-Jin. Did you think we were sitting idle for 30 years? While you ignored us as harmless primitives, we were watching you, learning from you, preparing for this day. We studied every battle you fought, Chief Engineer Wan-Ho Bei added, his voice coming through the communication system from the Soul's Pride. We analyzed every weapon you used. We learned from every mistake you made. Intelligence Officer Na Young-han's report followed. We've been intercepting your communications for years. We know your tactics, your formations, your standard operating procedures. We know your weaknesses. Commander Yoon Seo-yoon's voice was cold as winter. And we've been waiting for you to reveal your true nature. Now the galaxy can see what you really are. On screens throughout the station, footage began playing. Intercepted alien communications planning the partition of human space. Records of similar attacks on other young species. Evidence of slavery, genocide, and exploitation stretching back centuries. The smaller alien races in the chamber began to murmur among themselves. The Karak, who had lost half their worlds to Viridian protection. The Tholis, whose population had been decimated by Colic integration. The Zenari, whose homeworld had been destroyed in Lumian experiments. You see, He-Jin said, addressing the entire chamber, this isn't just about humanity. It's about every species these three powers have bullied and exploited. Today, that ends. Raktheus tried to regain control. Even if your claims are true, you cannot fight us all. We have fleets throughout the galaxy. You've only revealed a fraction of our strength, have we? Admiral Lim asked from the main screen. Let me show you something. The display changed to show a tactical map of the entire galaxy. Red dots marked alien fleet positions. Blue dots showed human ships. For every red dot, there were 3 blue ones. For 30 years, while you thought we were harmless explorers, we were building the largest military force in galactic history, Admiral Lee explained. Every asteroid field, every gas giant, every nebula in human space has been hiding our shipyards. Admiral Lim continued. We learned from Earth's history. When faced with overwhelming enemies, you don't fight fair. You fight smart. You use every advantage you can find. And our biggest advantage, General Kang added, was that you underestimated us. The alien delegates were no longer laughing. Raktheus's crystal body had lost its luster. Crix's swarm was clicking in rapid, panicked communication. Felthera's energy form flickered unstably. This is a trick, Raktheus insisted. Holograms and sensor ghosts. You cannot have built so many ships without us knowing. Can't we? Captain Sora Jung's voice cut through the communication channel. This is Captain Jung of the Busan's Vengeance. I've been shadowing your Colic swarm fleet for 3 weeks. Would you like me to prove my ship is real? The Busan's Vengeance opened fire on the Colic command ship, not to destroy it, but to disable its communication systems. The precise beam sliced through the alien vessel's antenna array like a knife through paper. Suddenly, the entire Colic swarm fleet stopped moving in perfect coordination. Without their hive coordinator, the individual ships began flying in confused circles. Still think we're using holograms? Captain Jung asked. Similar demonstrations occurred throughout the galaxy. Human ships revealed themselves by taking precise shots at alien vessels, disabling weapons without destroying them. The message was clear. We could have killed you all, but we chose mercy. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some aliens called for immediate attack. Others demanded retreat. The smaller species began talking excitedly about freedom and justice, but He-Jin wasn't finished. She activated one final communication channel. And now, she said, I'd like you to meet someone. The main screen showed a new figure, President Sang-Ho Kwan, the leader of humanity. Behind him stood representatives from every human colony, from every major city, from every walk of life. Citizens of the galaxy, President Kwan began, for too long, the strong have preyed upon the weak. Today, humanity offers a different path. We offer protection for all species who desire freedom. We offer justice for those who have been wronged. We offer hope for a better future. You're declaring war on the entire galactic order, Velthara said, its energy form pulsing with shock. No, Yejin replied. We're declaring war on tyranny. There's a difference. Outside the station, the human fleet waited, 15,000 ships strong, armed with weapons designed specifically to counter alien technology. They had trained for this moment, planned for it, dreamed of it. The galaxy's three most powerful militaries found themselves facing an enemy they had created through their own arrogance and cruelty. An enemy that had learned from their victims, studied their methods, and turned their own tactics against them. The age of the old powers was ending. The question now was whether they would accept defeat gracefully, or force humanity to write that ending in fire and blood. The silence in the chamber stretched like a held breath. Then Overlord Raktheus raised his massive crystal arm, and his voice boomed through the space station. Enough of this charade, he declared. Viridian Fleet, attack pattern Omega. Destroy the human ships and teach these primitives their place. The Kolak and Lumian delegates quickly followed suit. Within seconds, the three most powerful militaries in the galaxy were mobilizing for war. They had been caught off guard, but they still outnumbered the humans in this system. They could win this battle and crush human resistance before it spread. They were wrong. Admiral Taekyung Lim's voice cut through the alien battle orders like a blade. All human ships, you are cleared to engage. Show them what we've learned in 30 years of preparation. The battle began with a single shot from the Inchin's hammer. The massive dreadnought's main gun fired a beam of pure energy that struck the lead Viridian crystal ship. But instead of the devastating explosion the aliens expected, the beam seemed to drain the crystal ship's power, leaving it dead in space. Impossible. Raktheus whispered. Our crystal armor is impervious to energy weapons. Not to ours, Admiral Lim replied calmly. We studied your technology for decades. We know exactly how your crystal matrix works and how to disrupt it. Wing Commander Jae-Hwan Yu led the first fighter squadron into battle. His pilots flew with an individual creativity that the alien formations couldn't match. While Viridian crystal ships moved in rigid geometric patterns and Kolak swarms flew in perfect coordination, human fighters darted and weaved like living things. Eagle Squadron, break formation, Jae-Hwan ordered. Use Chaos Protocol 7. The human fighters scattered in all directions, each pilot choosing their own target and approach. The aliens tried to predict their movements using tactical computers, but how do you calculate chaos? How do you fight an enemy that makes decisions based on instinct and experience rather than programmed responses? Jae-Hwan rolled his fighter between two Kolak swarm ships and fired a burst from his pulse cannons. The aliens had expected him to follow standard attack patterns, so they had positioned themselves to counter those patterns. They hadn't expected him to do something completely unpredictable. His shots tore through the gap in their formation, disabling both ships with surgical precision. That's 2 down, he reported with satisfaction. Eagles, remember your training. Think like humans, not machines. Tactical Officer Hee-Young Kim coordinated the human fleet's battle strategy from the command ship. But unlike alien tacticians who tried to control every ship in their fleet, she gave her captains general objectives and let them figure out how to achieve them. All destroyers. Priority target is the Kolak command structure, she transmitted. Captain's discretion on approach and method. Each destroyer captain responded differently. Some used stealth to get close before striking. Others charged in with guns blazing. A few used electronic warfare to confuse the enemy before attacking. The variety of tactics made it impossible for the aliens to develop countermeasures. Captain Yu Jin, Seo commanded the destroyer Dagu's Edge. She had studied Kolak hive mind, tactics extensively, and knew their greatest weakness. They depended on constant communication between ships. Target their communication. Arrays, she ordered her weapons officer. But don't destroy them. Jam them. The Dagu's Edge fired specialized electromagnetic pulse weapons that disrupted Kolak biocommunication systems without causing permanent damage. Suddenly, hundreds of Kolak ships found themselves cut off from the hive mind. Individual Kolaks had never learned to think for themselves. Without the constant guidance of the collective consciousness, they panicked. Some ships fled the battle. Others fired randomly in all directions. A few simply stopped moving, their crews paralyzed by the terrifying experience of being alone with their own thoughts. Hive mind broken, Yujin reported. Kolak fleet is in chaos. Meanwhile, Admiral Baknam Ryu led the human reserve fleet against the Lumian energy ships. The Lumians had always considered themselves superior to matter-based life forms, but humanity had been studying energy beings for decades. "Deploy containment fields," Admiral Rue ordered. "Let's show them what we think of their energy superiority." Human ships fired specialized weapons that created electromagnetic bottles around Lumian vessels. The energy beings found themselves trapped in containers they couldn't escape, unable to phase through matter as they usually did. "This is impossible," Prime Architect Velthera transmitted, its energy form flickering with panic. "You are mere matter. You cannot contain pure energy. Watch us," Admiral Rue replied coldly. The battle raged for hours, but the outcome was never really in doubt. The aliens had superior numbers and advanced technology, but humanity had something they lacked: the ability to adapt and improvise. Human captains worked together without losing their individual creativity. They shared information freely while making independent decisions. They protected each other while pursuing their own objectives. It was organized chaos, and it was devastating against enemies who had never faced anything like it. The Viridians tried to use their massive crystal ships as battering rams, but human destroyers were too fast and agile. They danced around the slow-moving giants, striking at weak points with surgical precision. The Colics attempted to overwhelm human positions with swarm tactics, but without their hive-mind coordination, they couldn't maintain formation. Human fighters picked them off one by one, turning their numerical advantage into a liability. The Lumians tried to use their energy forms to possess human ships, but humanity had developed shielding specifically designed to keep them out. When that failed, they tried to overload human systems with pure energy, only to discover that human ships had been built to absorb and redirect such attacks. "Their technology is impossible," Warcast Thekmal reported from his crippled command ship. "How did they develop such advanced systems in only 30 years? "They didn't," Admiral Subinli explained, her image appearing on alien communication screens throughout the battle. "We've been developing these systems for centuries, ever since we first looked up at the stars and wondered what was out there. Every science fiction story, every military exercise, every thought experiment about fighting alien invaders," Admiral Lim added. "We've been preparing for this day since we first realized we weren't alone in the universe." As the battle turned decisively in humanity's favor, some alien ships began to surrender. Human captains accepted their surrender gracefully, providing medical aid and safe passage to non-combatants. They fought fiercely, but they fought with honor. This confused the aliens even more. They had expected humans to be savage and vengeful, as they themselves would have been. Instead, humanity showed mercy to defeated enemies and protected innocent civilians. Wing Commander Yu found himself escorting a damaged Viridian ship to safety rather than finishing it off. The Viridian pilot transmitted a confused message. "Why do you help me? I tried to kill you." "Because the war is over for you," Jae-Hwan replied simply. "You're not a threat anymore, so you're not an enemy." Similar scenes played out across the battlefield. Human ships rescued alien crews from disabled vessels. Human medics treated alien wounded alongside their own casualties. Human engineers helped repair alien life support systems. The galaxy's smaller species, watching the battle on long-range sensors, saw something they had never witnessed before: a powerful military force that fought only to defend, not to conquer. Captain Sora Jung, watching from the bridge of the Busan's Vengeance, summed up what everyone was thinking. This isn't just a military victory. This is proof that there's another way to be strong. By the end of the day, the three most powerful fleets in the galaxy had been defeated by a species they had considered primitive, not destroyed. Humanity had been careful to minimize casualties, but thoroughly beaten. The Viridian crystal ships floated powerless in space, their energy matrices disrupted by human technology. The Colic swarms drifted aimlessly, their hive-mind communications jammed. The Lumian energy forms were contained in electromagnetic bottles, unable to escape or fight back. But the real victory wasn't military. It was moral. For the first time in galactic history, the strong had fought not to dominate the weak but to protect them, not to expand their territory but to defend freedom. On Nexus Prime, the alien delegates sat in stunned silence. Their invincible fleets had been defeated by a species they had planned to enslave. Their advanced technology had been countered by human ingenuity. Their ancient dominance had been ended by newcomers who refused to accept that might makes right. Ambassador Hyojin Park stood before them, no longer the representative of a weak species begging for protection. She was the voice of a new power, one that would reshape the galaxy. "The war is over," she announced. "Now the real work begins."